Good morning again from Morristown, April 2023. Okay. Um, function report, still working on it, right? Number 18, they ask about your hobbies and your interests. Now, a lot of times our hobbies change when we become disabled. Our interests may not, but they actually do oftentimes too. Sometimes we start losing interest in things that we used to be interested in. So this one, they don't really explain which avenue they want you to take. So this is what I do. I don't think there's anything wrong with notating what your interests are and were, if they changed, what your hobbies were, because then you're going to say, they're no longer my hobbies. If you're not doing them, they're not really your hobbies, right? They might still remain your interests, but I'm not sure hobbies. Um, so, if you used to do mountain biking and long hikes or sewing and crocheting, and now you can't do them because you can't be on your feet that long. You've got back problems, you've got finger arthritis, and you can't, or neuropathies, and you can't do that detailed work with your hands. You could say, I would almost spell it out for them and say, I used to do this hobby, blah, 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 blah. And then you could say, now my only hobbies are, and this would be in number A. And the reason why I say that is sometimes when we talk about the things we used to do when we were younger or not disabled, and we just list them there, I've seen them pulled as examples of what the person's hobbies that they do still are. Oh, she still does crafts, or he still goes hiking. And when that's not true, so sometimes you have to spell it out for them so they can't manipulate it any other way. So I would literally put down, they used to be, you know, and then put the things you still do, because they need to look at what you can still do to see if that can be transferred to work-related functioning tasks. Now, keep in mind, I believe the answers to a function report, it's all about finding what your functioning capacity continues to be so they can transfer it to potentially to some of the many occupations out there ultimately, so that you are not disabled, because there is a handful that you could still do. So when you think of that, when you are doing your function report generally, that it's not about being a martyr or showing how great you were and are, which is definitely true. It's about showing what you can't do more so than what you can, while still answering responsibly. So when you're answering responsibly, make sure to add in the caveats, okay? So hobbies and interests, again, I would almost separate them out, because what we're interested in is up here, right? It's not necessarily something we're doing, it's something we're interested in. Like car shows. I see a lot of people have interest in car shows, and they probably used to go a lot. But if they're not going to those car shows and walking around for 3 hours anymore, it is more of an interest and not a hobby. So you would want to, if it was a hobby and an interest, make it clear that you no longer do it. Under number B, it says, how often and how well do you do these things? They're referring to the things up above in A that you listed. So if you definitely have to put in the things you are no longer doing. I would reiterate them right there. And if you still do it like once a year, you try, because sometimes people, we all try to do things that we had some tough times with to see if we can now do them. You can say, I haven't done it in a year. Or I only do that once a year. Let's say it's a car show. Maybe you do try to go once a year. If you now do it differently, like maybe you don't go for 3 hours or 5 hours. Maybe you go for a half hour. I would put that in there, even though that's not specifically asked. And they don't really ask it because they don't really want to know, because they can't get a really good answer that can help support more capacity to do that. So you need to see that in the back of your mind and include that now car show is once a year. We just drive to, sometimes you might just be driving through, and maybe you're not even getting out and walking. Or if you are, you're out for about 15, 20 minutes and you're not doing a lot of walking, you're looking at a few cars. Make it clear. And remember, you have limited space, so feel free to not use full and complete perfect sentences. Okay. It could be a short phrase that gets the point across. Describe any changes in these activities since the illness, injuries, or conditions began. And that's where you're going to talk about A, B, and C. Don't do it at all anymore. D, E, and F, I only do them once a year now, and I can only do them for 15 minutes. It's just keeping the game, you know. So number 18, that's how I would address those. You don't really want it pulled out as something you can do robustly. If that's not the case, you want to make it very clear. Okay. 18, hobbies and interests. All right. I'll see you later on the next one. Bye now.